Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today, believe it or not, we have even more updates happening with the development. I know not too long ago I posted an over 1 hour long video going over all of the updates that are expected to come in 323. But we have had a lot more major news come out since then, so I figured I'd cover it in this video today before we move on to some other things. Now, the progress with development is actually happening really fast, even though it seems like the year is starting off kind of slow with not much stuff happening in live. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of development happening in the background. So Evocati testing. Now we talked about that a little bit in the last video, and I'm going to talk about it more in today's video because Evocati testing is going to be a major part of the run up to 323 and 4.0 and presumably 1.0 beta. Now I'm not saying any dates of when any of this stuff is going to come out, but CIG is trying to get themselves in the mindset where they are building the game that they actually want to release. Now that all of the pieces are finally slowly starting to come together, they have to try and tailor that experience for the players. So what happened? Well, Evocati had some more playtests, and they were able to test jump points. And so this is kind of like a debrief basically on the findings of that test. So Evocati silver meshing jump point debrief. This is on Reddit. I'll leave it linked in the video description below. Now, okay, this test happened on a specific day. The jump gate from Pyro system to Stanton system is navigatable. Okay, so players were able to get into the jump point. Currently, the notification and art are in dev speak, and you don't have clear instructions on what to do. But if you follow the first part of the patch notes instructions and got lucky on timing, you can get through. Okay, I'm going to kind of try to see if I can, yeah, let's just zoom that in a little bit so we can read it better, so you guys can follow along. Okay, basically fly towards the gates, point at the blue glowing ball more than 7 kilometers away and less than 15 kilometers away. Turn on your quantum drive. Okay, so you have to turn on your quantum drive, hail the ATC, and wait for the two blue bars to fill up and the text to be green on the left hand side. Currently, this has information like whether or not you have aligned to the target, you're tuned, the gate is open, and have permission and what your status is. Okay, that's very interesting. I did not know that there would be, that kind of UI with this, but, obviously that makes a lot of sense. If the gate says open and your status is entering gate, you just accelerate towards the blue ball until autopilot takes over. That's another kind of big thing here. I did not realize it'd be like an autopilot type situation. Overall, a lot of initial confusion because a lot of us had upgraded drives, etc., and didn't know what was going on. But then we slowly figured it out, and the system stability and general performance are excellent. Okay, that's another thing a lot of people were saying was that the performance of these tests were in general really good, and they didn't have a 30Ks or anything like that. This is such an exciting time to be a citizen in the verse. Look forward thoroughly. Okay, known bugs. If you change the stock quantum drive in your ship, you won't have the jump drive. If you check the component hatch where it should be, it will be empty. Okay. Again, the bugs matter a little bit less. Certain ships like Pirate Caterpillar don't seem to be able to jump. Okay. Only one person can enter the tunnel at a time. Okay. This is another thing that I saw a lot of people talking about is that the way it kind of works. Well, before we get into, what I've heard and my thoughts, let's kind of finish this real quick. Yeah, only one person can enter the tunnel at a time, which means that if you and someone else both get permission to jump, whoever gets their second will bounce back and have to queue again, okay? There are reports of being able to clip through the side of the tunnel if you get lucky, and this prevents the auto pathing from overriding, and you have to manually fly the tunnel, okay? So if you are coming from Pyro and going to Stanton, you go in the tunnel, you're automatically in Stanton, but that portion of the tunnel is in Stanton. And if you are going from Stanton to Pyro, that tunnel is completely in Pyro. Okay. So the tunnel is kind of just like an experience, I believe. And so that might be part of the reason why one person can only go in at a time. Now, I don't know if this is both ways. Again, I haven't had much information if someone from Pyro and someone from Stanton has tried going through the tunnel at the same time. The reports that I'm hearing is that only one person can go through it at the same time. So if someone is in the tunnel, the other person gets bounced out, and that's basically what this person is saying here. Okay, only one person can enter the tunnel at a time, which means that whoever gets their second will be bounced back and have to queue again. Now, based on the UI and the things that you have to do to use the tunnel, there might be like some kind of queuing system. And so that kind of makes sense why there's so many structures built up around these jump points. So for a lot of people that want to go through the tunnel, you are more than likely going to have to like line up and kind of single file go through the tunnel. Um, which again, I don't have a problem with, especially in this first iteration. I don't know if they might do like a quantum linking type situation so that maybe if you're in the same party and all the ships are jumping at the same time, you might be able to go through the tunnel together. Kind of like, when you quantum linking in a jump right now, that might be a thing where there's like a leader of your group and you guys all kind of sync to that player, and when he presses the button to go through the tunnel, all the ships go through the tunnel. I don't know if CIG is going to do something like that. Again, that's just a bit of speculation. Right now what we're looking at is you're probably going to have to line up to get into the tunnel. And I know that when this goes to live, a lot of people are going to be, there'll probably be some long lines just to test out the experience, okay? And again, the way this thing is, it kind of works. I'll go over it again a little bit. You basically fly towards the gates, point at the blue ball. You have to be more than 7 kilometers away and less than 15 kilometers away. Turn on your quantum drive, hail ATC. So just like landing at in a space station, or at the hangars, you call them, you wait for 2 blue bars to fill up and the text to be green on the left hand side, and it has information whether you're aligned, tuned, where the gate is open, and if you have permission. Now, some evocati have been saying that they were able to go through with a crime stat. And I think personally that kind of makes sense. I don't know if that's a bug or if CIG is going to, uh, you know, change that before live. In a certain sense, it potentially makes sense. Um, because if you're a criminal and you have to go through a type of custom scenario, it makes sense to prevent you from jumping and be like, okay, you have a wanted crime, you should have to, I would say, sneak on a ship, and maybe there may be gameplay smuggling prisoners out of Stanton into Pyro. But basically they said once they get to Pyro that the crime stat is gone. I think that makes sense because Pyro's lawless, and your crime stat shouldn't carry over to multiple star systems. Essentially, you should be wanted in Stanton, but once you go to Pyro, you have amnesty or whatever. It's basically like in real life, a lot of people, they try to prevent prisoners or people who, uh, you know, uh, whether the felon or convicted or awaiting trial, they try to prevent them from leaving the country because there is that ability that you know they might go to a country that won't send them back. And Pyro is not a part of the UEE. It is independent. It is lawless. So if you are able to escape to Pyro, your crime stat shouldn't exist in Pyro. I think that makes sense. I think that would be good, fun, and interesting gameplay to, let's say, you're a prisoner and somebody who doesn't have a crime stat, you pay them to smuggle you to Pyro. I think that would be very cool emerging gameplay. But if this is your ship and you're the pilot, the air traffic control should be able to scan you and be like, okay, you can't go through. And maybe there might be people at the jump gate waiting. There is a lot of conversations about camping because of the way that jump gates are kind of set up right now, is that you kind of have to line up. It's a single file type scenario. What is the security at these locations going to be like? I have no idea. Honestly, there might be players who hang around these locations to engage in PvP. Again, in Stanton, there will be a law system to kind of prevent that a little bit. Like, if you kill a player on the Stanton side, you will of course get a crime stat, and other players will hunt you. But on the Pyro side, that will be a little bit different. Now, what I've heard other Evocati say is that when you go through the jump gate and you come out of the other side into Pyro, keep moving because another player in the queue will essentially come out in the same spot. So you're basically traveling in a straight line through this jump point to end up. It basically, you leave one silver and one star system in a specific spot. That's why they say here that you have to be between 7 kilometers and 15 kilometers away. This is kind of like the point where the system grabs your ship and the autopilot takes over and brings you through the tunnel. Okay, so yeah, there are reports that they're able to clip through the side of the tunnel if they get lucky, and this prevents the autopilot from overrunning and they can manually fly through the tunnel. Now, from what I believed, CSG talked about these jump tunnels is that we would be flying through them manually, but I think they might have changed that. So basically, the way it looked like at previous Citizen Cons or previous iterations of the jump tunnel transition is that that was something that said you said you have to manually try to follow the tunnel, and if you get out of the tunnel you can get lost and all this other stuff. I think they might not be implementing that for this first iteration. This is jump points tier 0. So I think it makes sense for the autopilot to fly you through the tunnel because you're just going from point A to point B. And I think it also makes sense to do it one at a time so there's no confusion with the servers or the services. Um, but and again, eventually, I would say there is that kind of speculation that maybe you could jump as a party or something like that. Again, I don't really know. Um, but I think that this was a lot of really interesting details around how the process actually worked. And I'm super glad that the NDA was reduced a little bit so Evo Cardi can actually talk about this stuff, and the community could talk about this stuff and give their feedback on how they feel like it works. But basically, the point of all of this is that it works. Players were able to go from Stanton to Pyro or whichever, and there was two servers that will mesh together with one replication layer, one shard handling all of the services. It was stable, and people were actually able to play and try it out. Okay. Uh, uh, there were also reports that the jump tunnel art is not final. I think that is probably purposely done because I don't think CIG wants to, give away the entire experience um, in testing. I think they'll probably, I think a lot of players in Evo Cardi are playing older builds of this. I think Evocati has been saying that, the Pyro build was kind of like an older build with less missions and stuff, with less missions and content. So I think that they are, they're letting them test not the full experience, just kind of making sure that it works first, and that the players can test that it works and see how it functions before they add in all of the content, which again, I think it's a good idea. You don't want to spoil that experience where, you can jump through the tunnel with all of your friends on live. I think again, a lot of people have kind of compared it to, when a new patch, came out in another MMO, and everyone would be kind of waiting to enter the new zone or whatever. I think it's kind of like that. It's a big deal for a lot of MMO players to have that, new patch update and go to the new zone with all of their friends. So I think they should kind of keep that experience close and well, kind of wait on it. So that's super exciting. And so kind of the next thing with the testing was increased player caps. So CIG is rolling out a new server architecture with this. So the testing, I think it was 2 days of testing, where one day it was like a 200 player cap, and the next day it was like a 400 player cap. Okay, so we have the information from that playtest. Okay, message of the day. Evo Cardi Tech Preview Silver Meshing playtest is open and will run through the weekend. It will be running for a couple of focus 2 hour playtests. Uh, Increase player counts to 200 and then again to 400 the following day if all goes well. Okay, players normal. These tests aren't looking to stress tests. Saturday 200 player cap, Sunday 400 player cap playtest. Okay, so that happened over the weekend. I've seen a few screenshots from that, which we'll look at here. Okay, so here we can see that when they look at the silver list, uh, you've got 291 out of 400. Okay, so right there, the higher silver cap has been unlocked. So I don't know how the structure is going to be. A lot of people are saying that it is looking like maybe 200 in Stanton and 200 in Pyro for a combined 400, or maybe it's a combined 400 where it's both. I don't think it is. I think the way that it works, and again, I'm not 100% sure. Let me know in the comments down below. I know a few of you guys that have commented in the past are Evo Cardi and do know. So, let me know in the comments down below. Um, I think that it may be a 400 shard cap, like the player cap on the shard is 400, because when you look at this right here, this party list, this is for the shard, because right now in live we have shards. We have but it's a single silver shard that doesn't have the replication layer split. But CIG already implemented the network architecture to prepare for this update. So I believe that the services are considering the entire shard and not a specific server. So this could be a player in Stanton or Pyro looking at the shard list. So I think that the shard player cap is 400, and there isn't a specific player cap per server anymore. So right now, the shard cap is like 100. And because there's only one server and there's only Stanton, that kind of results in the server cap being 100. But I think moving forward, with uh, two two servers on one shard being handled by a single replication layer, I think that shard has a player cap of 400. So it could be 200 in Pyro and 200 in Stanton, or maybe it's 300 in Stanton and 100 in Pyro, or 300 in Pyro and 100 in Stanton. It can kind of balance itself out because the servers are kind of designed to hold 400 between them, because all 400 players could technically just be in Stanton or just in Pyro. So what CIG would have to do is make sure that a single server could hold all the players being in one star system. So that, I think, is where the new architecture comes in to be able to withstand that. But more than likely, all the players aren't going to be in one star system. They're more than likely going to be in multiple star systems. But that's kind of where dynamic silver meshing comes in, where what we are testing right now is static silver meshing, where Pyro is one server and Stanton is one server. But dynamic server meshing is where CIG will spool up a new server depending on the player base's population. So if there is 100 people on Microtech can be its own server. That technology is not being tested right now, and I don't believe that they are trying to get that for 4.0. I think for 4.0, they're trying to get out static silver meshing, and maybe 1.0, they would try to get out dynamic silver meshing. So 4.0 is a big update for basically the first time we'll have silver meshing in the game, and 1.0, or which is 1.0 beta. Right now we're in 4.0 alpha, so 1.0 beta, that would be, I think, when the finished technology with dynamic silver meshing would come on play. Because when we go into beta, that's more about polishing and balancing and that type of stuff. Alpha is, we're still building the tech we need to make this game. So CIG is going to have to make base building and the updated bounty hunting and all of this other stuff before we go to that. But yeah, super exciting stuff, you guys. I think that this past weekend has been huge. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you're Evocati, if you've tested it, what are your findings? I'm really excited about what's happening in the game, in the community right now. It's a very exciting time to be a citizen. CIG is doing a ton of work in the background to, hopefully make this a huge year. And that's what they've said. They've said it's the watershed year for Star Citizen. And it's looking like that's going to be the case. But, fingers crossed. It's already March, almost mid-March now. At the recording of this video. So I don't know. Right now, there's still an Evocati testing. They're not in PTU. I kind of said it. I kind of predicted it. I think that this is going to be a long PTU cycle. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm still wrong. Maybe they can get it for mid-April. But they initially said, the first quarter of the year. I knew that was optimistic. I want them to take their time and get it right. 323 is a big update, and so will 4.0. We don't need a repeat of 318 and that whole mess. So yeah, I want them to take their time and I want them to get it right. Obviously, it can affect sales if the player base is not engaging with the content. I mean, just look at this Reddit numbers, 483. The Reddit has been way more active than this in the past. These are pretty low numbers, so I feel like people are definitely waiting to get back into the game. The content is exciting. There's still a lot of people playing, but yeah, CIG is definitely going to want to get things ready for the community to actually engage with. I know that Invictus is coming up. Yeah, it's exciting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm not going to take up any more of you guys' time. Thanks for hanging out with me again. So like I always say at the end of these videos, you guys, like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you guys in the next one. Salut!